Hello on this bright and windy day. I was outside and I came in and my hair was all over the place. That's the problem of being a girl. You got hair that goes everywhere in the wind. I hope you are all having a great Holy Week. I miss you all so much. I've been thinking about you, and I even had a dream last night of our classroom. So I've been thinking of you, and I hope that you remember that I have you in my heart. So yesterday was Holy Wednesday of Holy Week. That is the day we actually read the story about it, kind of how Judas, one of Jesus' disciples, decided that he didn't like the things that Jesus was doing. He kind of made sad choices. He wasn't very kind to Jesus' friend Mary. And he decided to turn Jesus in. So Holy Wednesday, we remember how Judas decided to go to those temple leaders, those people that did not like Jesus and who wanted to find a plan to arrest him and charge him. Judas, his disciple, went to them and said, "What will you give me if I tell you where Jesus is?" And they offered him 30 silver coins. And Judas agreed, and they started to come up with a plan to trap Jesus in this plan. So Judas, his friend, decided to turn on him. Now, think about how you would feel if you had a friend who decided to turn against you, who told on you and made a lie up that wasn't true, that got you in trouble and made people be unkind to you. That would really hurt your heart, right? So if you have someone that maybe is being unkind to you, or maybe you're thinking about being unkind to someone, I want you to think about Jesus and his friends and how Judas decided to be unkind and turn against Jesus and the things that he had been standing for. So, one second, I wanted to make sure that I got that whole story correct so that I can tell you everything. Then we will be reading about Holy Thursday, which is today. Okay, so today, Holy Thursday, is the day of the Last Supper, the day where Jesus gathered all of his friends and he washed their feet and they ate and broke bread and drank wine together. This was very important, and this is when Jesus was starting to realize, I am soon going to be sent to heaven. I'm going to die, and that's what's supposed to happen. So Jesus is celebrating. He's with his friends and starting to really show them what's going to be happening. So our first reading is Jesus the Servant. It is from John chapter 13, verse 1 through 20. Jesus and the 12 disciples got together to have the Passover feast. So today is the first day of Passover. Well, it wasn't the first day, but this is a day of Passover that people who are Jewish celebrate and have a big dinner. My parents, their neighbors are actually Jewish, and they had a little neighborhood party where they sat on their driveways and they talked, and just to be a little bit social, but also be safe so that no one gets sick. And my mom asked them how they were celebrating Passover, and they told them of special foods that they eat and prayers that they do in their faith to remember Passover and celebrate it. So a Passover feast is the meal eaten at Passover. It includes lamb, brown rice, salt water, and bitter herbs. All of these act as reminders of Passover night. 3 loaves of unleavened bread are put on the table as a reminder that their ancestors had to hurry when they left Egypt and did not have time to let the dough rise. So those are traditions or different things that they might do to celebrate Passover. So this week when you wrote about what your family does to celebrate Easter, people who are Jewish celebrate things in their family also during this time. Oh, the picture. After the men started to eat, Jesus stood up. He got a bowl of water and a towel and began to wash the disciples' feet. So people usually walked barefoot. They didn't have shoes. And so their feet got very dirty from the roads because they were made of dirt. They didn't have cement or sidewalks or grass that they walked on. It was dirt and rocks. So their feet would get very dirty. A servant would wash the guests' feet when they came in. So someone if they had a servant, someone who worked for them and did things for them, when someone would come in their house, they would wash their feet so that they're not walking all over the house in places with dirty feet. So that is usually a servant's job to clean the dirty feet. When he came to the disciple Peter, Peter asked, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" So when he says Lord right here, Lord is used as a title to address kings or those that are in authority or who are in charge. So that was a name that people called those people. The word in Hebrew is Adonai. I don't know if I said that right. Probably not. We'd have to ask someone who knows Latin or Hebrew. Jesus answered, "You don't really know what I am doing, but later you will understand." So sometimes Jesus says things that maybe they don't understand at the time. And Jesus is doing things that they might not understand at the time. But later on, they will see that this happened for a reason. And Jesus is wanting to do this for them. So he is wanting to wash his disciples' feet. But they're surprised because why would Jesus be doing this? This is something a servant does. Oh, I guess I didn't show that picture. That must be Peter, and he's saying, "Are you going to wash my feet?" Peter thought Jesus would not be acting like a servant. He said he did not want Jesus to wash his feet. Jesus told him, "If you don't let me wash your feet, you don't really belong to me." So Peter let Jesus wash his feet because he wants to be with Jesus. He wants to belong with him because he believes in him and the things that he teaches and says. When all the disciples' feet had been washed, Jesus spoke to them. "You call me your teacher and Lord, and you should, because that is who I am. I have washed your feet to show you that you should do for one another exactly what I have done for you. You know these things, and God will bless you if you do them." So he's kind of saying the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Do for others. If he's Lord, which they called him, which means someone that is in authority or in charge or very special, if a Lord is going to wash the feet of other people, then they too should wash other people's feet. They shouldn't just expect servants to do it. They should wash the servants' feet. It doesn't matter who you are. You should treat each other kindly and nicely because that is what Jesus taught, to be kind and helpful and give to others. So he's giving them that very important lesson after he washed their feet. And he's saying, now you need to go do this. Not just wash feet, but help others. All right, now the Last Supper. So they arrived where they were. He washed their feet and taught them this lesson. And now they're going to have the Last Supper, which at the time was just a supper to them. It was celebrating Passover. But this was going to be the last meal that Jesus had with his friends. Kind of like family. It is from Matthew chapter 26, verse 17 through 30, Mark 14, verses 12 through 26, Luke 22, 7 through 23, and John chapter 13, 21, verse 30. All 12 of Jesus' disciples were at the Passover feast. All of them. So that means that Judas, the one that went to already tell the mean guys that he would turn Jesus in, he's there. The 12 were Peter and his brother Andrew, John and James, son of Zebedee, Philip, Bartholomew, Thomas, Matthew, James, son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon, and Judas Iscariot. The disciples were all different. Some had more faith than others, but they were loyal to Jesus, which means that they were loyal. They kept their word. They followed him. They told him the truth. So they thought. But remember, Judas is not doing that. All but one. Jesus knew this disciple was going to turn against him. So Judas wasn't honest. He didn't say, "Jesus, I went to the leaders and I'm going to turn you in." He wasn't honest. He didn't tell his mistake because he didn't think it was a mistake at the time. But Jesus, he's all-knowing, so he knows things that are going to happen. He understands, right? He's special. And he knows that Judas he knows that. But did he turn him away? Is he mean to him? No. But he knows that's what's going to happen. He said, I tell you for certain that one of you will betray me. So betray is an act. It's something, you betray someone. You are disloyal to them. So you turn against them. You tell on them. You get them in trouble. You are hurtful to them. I will dip this piece of bread in the bowl and give it to the one I am talking about. So he's going to reveal, he's going to show everyone who the disloyal disciple is. Jesus dipped the bread and gave it to Judas. So dipping the bread. Now in my Bible, that's in bold, which means it's something important. So what dipped the bread means is traditionally at meal times, flat bread was used a bit like a spoon and was dipped in the communal dish. As a sign of friendship, the head of the family would choose the best bit and offer it to the important guest. So Jesus took the best piece of bread that was there and he dipped it in the food, because that's what people did. They scooped their food out of the big bowl and put it on their plate and he scooped it and fed it to Judas. Now, when we read about that, it said someone that is important. Now, is Judas someone that is important that Jesus is wanting to celebrate and say, wow, look at him, he's amazing? I don't know if he is or not. He's pointing him out. He's saying that this is the one that is going to be disloyal to me. But he's still treating him nicely, right? He's still treating him like a friend. Oh, I forgot pictures. Judas stood up. Jesus told him, go and do what you must do. The other disciples watched Judas walk away. They did not know what was going to happen. So they were like, what is going on? Judas knows. He's like, oh boy, Jesus knows what I did. And Jesus tells him, go do it. Leave and go tell him. Basically, he knows what's going to happen. When Jesus told the others that he would soon be going away from them, it was time for him to die. That was God's plan for him all along. So Jesus is letting his other disciples know, the time is coming, I'm going to die. But that's what's supposed to happen. That was my purpose here. I was born in here to teach you, to guide you, and to hope that others will too, to believe in God. But what has to happen is I have to die. And he was okay with that. He knew that. He knew that Judas needed to go turn him in because that's what was meant to happen. That's what God's plan was. Now you might think, why would God want to do that to Jesus? He doesn't really want to, but it's for a purpose. It's for a reason. It's a plan. And we'll find out about that. So here he is telling his disciples these things, and you look at their faces and they're like, what's he talking about? Then he told them that when he was gone, they must love one another as he has loved them. So he's telling them, I'm not going to be here much longer. And when I'm not here, it's going to be your job to love everyone, each other, like I love you. And that's a lot, right? The disciples did not want Jesus to leave them. Jesus said, you are very sad now, but later I will see you, and you will be so happy that no one will be able to change the way you feel. So think about that. If someone that was your friend that you believed in and loved was telling you these things, you'd probably feel pretty sad and upset, right? I'd say, no, don't go, please. You have so many amazing things you do. You do miracles. You teach us. You guide us. But Jesus said, you'll be even happier when I come back and see you later on. So let the plan happen. Jesus took some bread in his hand and blessed it. He picked up a cup of wine and gave thanks to God. He shared the bread and wine with the disciples. So he broke the bread and he gave the wine to everyone. And that's what the priests do when we are at church for breaking bread and the blood. That's what Jesus is doing right now to tell them, when I'm doing this now, later on when you do this after I'm gone, remember me. So Jews drank wine at special moments during the Passover celebration to give thanks to the Lord for freeing his people from slavery. It showed that God had changed their sadness into joy. So wine was something they drank to celebrate. And Jesus is doing that to say, hey, remember me later on when you do this. This bread and wine are part of me. Take them as a way of remembering me, Jesus said. Afterward, they sang a hymn and went out to the Mount of Olives. So he said, this is a part of me. The bread and the wine is a part of me. And do this to remember me. And that means Christians celebrate this event in a ceremony called Holy Communion or the Lord's Supper. So we remember Jesus by saying that the bread is the body of Jesus. He died. And the wine is the blood of Jesus because he died for us. And those two things are how we remember him, and we're able to celebrate his love for us. The Mount of Olives, where they went after they sang and finished their meal, is a small place but important mountain that was situated half a mile east of Jerusalem, across from the Kidron Valley. So he went there with his disciples after dinner. So we will talk about this, the rest of it, tomorrow, Holy Friday, which is the last time that Jesus is going to be with his disciples. Now here's the picture of Jesus saying that this bread and wine is part of me, and do it. Continue to do this to remember me. Oh, so many good lessons. I know that this kind of ran a little long, but this is important stuff, and I really want you to be learning about Jesus and really understanding what he did for us and what this special time means. It might seem like, oh, we're just getting ready for Easter, but we have to remember that it's also for us to remember Jesus and do as he taught us, to treat others kindly and to have him in our hearts. So I miss you. I hope to see you all soon.